Hello, my name is Csaba Gall, and I'm going to be talking about the National Airspace System. And we'll start with Class Alpha and go all the way through Class Bravo. So let's go ahead and start with Class Alpha Airspace. So the dimension is going to be starting from 18,000 feet MSL up to 60,000 feet, or flight level 600. And biggest thing about this airspace is you must be on an instrument flight plan under IFR, and you also have to be instrument rated to fly IFR, so no VFR flying in Class Alpha, and therefore there won't be any VFR weather minimums in Class Alpha airspace. Okay, next up is Class Bravo, or busy. So you're gonna have all your busy airports surrounded by Class Bravo airspace, such as JFK in New York or LAX in California. You're gonna have Class Bravo airspace around those type of airports. The dimensions, it's customizable and usually shaped like an upside down wedding cake. Entry requirements. So the pilots must have clearance to enter, so you must hear clear to enter that specific Class Bravo airspace from ATC. You also must be at least a private pilot to fly in Class B, or if you're a student and you wish to solo in Class Bravo, then your instructor must train and endorse you in that specific Class Bravo airspace. So that's very important. The airplane also must be equipped with a mode C transponder and an ADS-B out. VFR minimums are pretty easy, so it's just 3 statute mile visibility and remain clear of clouds in Class B. Alright, so here's what it looks like on a sectional chart. So you're gonna see these solid blue lines surrounding that Class B airport. That's what it's gonna look like, and you're gonna have these different altitudes for the segments within that Class Bravo. Alright, Class Charlie airspace. So still somewhat busy airports, not as busy as Class Bravo, but still somewhat busy. Dimensions, it's also customizable. Typically the lower shelf has a 5 nautical mile radius and goes up to 1200 feet AGL, and the upper shelf would have a 10 nautical mile radius going up to 4000 feet AGL. The entry requirements going to be two-way radio comms. So what does that mean? Means you call up tower and you establish comms with them. You must hear back your tail number, so that would be considered established comms with tower. You also must have a mode C transponder, and you must have an ADS-B out. Okay, VFR weather mins for Class Charlie. So you're gonna have a 3 statute mile visibility for cloud clearance. You're gonna have 1,000 feet above, 500 below, and 2,000 feet horizontally. So the easiest way to remember this, just remember 3152s. Okay, and here what it looks like on a sectional chart. So you're gonna have these solid magenta lines surrounding that Class Charlie airspace. Alright, Class Delta airspace. So towered airports, but not as busy as Charlie or Bravo. The dimensions are also customizable and usually extends from the surface to 2500 AGL with a 4 nautical mile radius. The only entry requirements you have for Class D is that you must have two-way radio comms established with tower, and it has the same weather mins, so it's gonna be the 3152s, just as Class Charlie. Alright, so here's what it looks like on a sectional. So you're gonna have these dashed blue lines surrounding that Class Delta airport. Alright, Class Echo, or everywhere. So generally has 3 floors. Well, technically four floors, and I'll talk about why. So it could either start at the surface, or at 700 feet AGL, or at 1200 feet AGL, and also technically above class Alpha, so just above 60,000 feet, it would also be class Echo airspace. There are no entry requirements, but if you are going to be flying into clouds, you must be on IFR flight plan. So the weather minimum is going to be a little bit different. Below 10,000 feet MSL, you're going to have the 3152s. Now if you're above 10,000 feet MSL, the visibility is also going to be 5 statute mile visibility, and 1,000 above, 1,000 below, and 1 statute mile horizontal. And just to add to the entry requirements, technically if you're flying above 10,000 feet, you also need to have ADS-B out. So that's very important. That's not on this slide, but need to know. Okay, here's a sectional chart picture. So if you see this dotted magenta line here, that means class Echo starts at the surface. Now you can see this dashed or shaded line around. That means within that shaded line it would start at 700 feet AGL, and outside of that, just over here, it would be 1200 AGL. Below that would be class Golf. Alright, and last stop is class Golf, so it's uncontrolled. There are no entry requirements, and the weather minimums are a little bit tricky for this one. So I have this chart, and I'm not gonna read it all out, but biggest thing is you're gonna have day and night. They are a little bit different, and also depending on the altitude you're flying in class Golf, you're gonna have different weather minimums. And so, like I said already, for example, within this shaded line here, if you're below 700 feet here, that would be class Golf. Above that would be class Echo. And here's a really cool airspace weather min triangle. I like the students to have this just to help them memorize these minimums. It's a good idea to print this out. And lastly, we can talk about speed limits, although we probably never gonna reach these speeds in general aviation planes, but it's good to know for the check ride. Alright, so if you are below 10,000 feet MSL, speed limit is 250 knots indicated. If you are below 2,500 feet, if you're below 2,500 feet AGL within 4 nautical miles of Charlie or Delta, it's going to be 200 knots. And class B airspace through class A or B corridor, it's going to be 200 knots indicated as well. Alright, so that will be it for airspace class Alpha through Golf. Thank you for your time and have a good day.